Today's practice is going to be about strength and about being strong regardless of what's going on in your life. So if we're able to find that strength within us, then that should make everything in life a lot easier. And things can roll off of you a lot easier. And I also wanted to make this a wrist-friendly practice so that even people that have trouble with their wrist can join in for this finding strength practice. And I didn't want to have to do any alternative poses for those people. I wanted everybody to just have access to this practice and have better lighting. So I knew that my action camera would be better for that, but because it's not out on a trail getting air, it is possibly going to overheat. So we're going to try to keep this within the 30 minutes. But I'd like you to start in a mountain position and really dig down into your mat with your feet and push out as if you're trying to rip your mat in half. You should feel all your leg muscles engage. Then we want to suck our navel to our spine. You should feel your back immediately straighten when you do that action. And we're going to stand here in mountain pose for a couple of deep breaths. And we're getting more bright light through that window, which I did not have just 5 minutes ago. But everything will work out. So with strength from my gut, I'm very hopeful that this practice will work. So we're going to take really deep breaths. Just fill your abdomen with air. So breathing in and out. Still digging into that mat with your feet and out. Breathe in and out. Now we're going to step to the front of our mats and we're going to go back into that mountain pose. So again, reattach yourself to your mat. Really dig in and push out at the same time. And we're going to sweep our arms down to come up and overhead to a volcano pose. And we're going to stand like this, imagining a strong wind comes through the room where you are right now and does not budge you. You do not waver. You've got the strength to withstand the wind. Then we're going to sweep our arms down again and right back up to that volcano pose and immediately into a forward fold. Now have a generous bend in your knees and maybe just trace like a half circle from the right to the left and from the left to the right. We should be getting a really good stretch in our hamstrings by doing this. Should feel really good if you've been hitting the gym or working out a lot or running a lot. Then we're going to stop in the middle and we're going to place our right hand on the mat. Now remember, we have a generous bend in our knees. And we're going to take our right hand, so our left hand's in the center. We're going to take our right hand, and as if we're pulling back a bow, we're going to straighten that right leg as our right arm reaches up to the sky. Giving a little twist. Then lower that right hand, bend those knees again, place your right hand in the middle, just in front of your toes. And as we're pulling back that bow with our left hand, allow your left leg to straighten. Then we're going to return to that forward fold and sweep our arms up. Go nice and slow as we return to that volcano pose. Take a deep breath in and out. Now we're going to go into a warrior two. So let's lower our hands to our sides. We're going to step back first with our right foot. Make sure that your right foot, the toes, are pointing off to the corner in the room. Try to make sure that you've got your navel sucked to your spine, a deep bend in that left leg. You want to make sure that you can still see your toes, so you don't want to overextend. Then take your arms out to either side and actively reach, as if you're trying to reach something that's just beyond your fingertips. Now we're going to lower our right hand to the back of our right leg, and we're going to reach up and overhead with that left arm for our peaceful warrior. Now you can also have your hand at the small of your back or the back of your leg. Then from center, we want to straighten back up to that warrior two. Then we're going to straighten that front leg and lower it. Straighten that front leg and lower it. Now we're going to go into a triangle pose. So straighten that front leg. Keep your arms extended out to either side. Keep your navel sucked to your spine and tilt. Now, when you tilt, really rely on your abdominal wall to help you maintain your balance. Look up to the sky and let your left hand hover just above your ankle. Then we're going to come back up and lower that leg back into warrior two. Now, this is a strong pose. That's why I chose it for a finding strength practice. We can feel powerful in this pose. It's taken a lot of strength in our leg muscles in order to be able to maintain it. Then we're going to straighten that leg one more time and lower it. Now this time we're going to straighten, but we're going to lower our hands and place them at our waist. Turn the left toes in and the right toes out. You might have to readjust. My right leg was way out in front. And we're going to lower into that pose on the other side. So again, reaching out with both arms active. You want to feel like something is just beyond your reach and you're just about to be able to grab it. And we're going to lower that hand to the back of our left leg, or left hand rather, and we're going to reach up and overhead with our right hand and go into peaceful warrior. Then we're going to raise our arms again, straighten that leg, and lower. Now we're going to straighten that leg and go into triangle on this side. So really suck your navel to your spine. We want a lot of this movement to come from our abdominal wall. And then look up to the sky and allow your right hands to, to hover just above your ankle. And from center, rise back up and lower into warrior two. Now we're going to straighten that leg. We're going to turn the right toes out just a little bit and the left toes out. We're going to go into goddess pose. The warrior two is a really good symbol of strength, but goddess pose is probably the best one. So what we're going to do, we're going to have our feet not quite as wide as they were for Warrior Two, but you want to be able to drop your torso without bending over. So if you have to bring your feet even closer together, please do. We want to be able to strengthen our abdominal wall and our legs, but we don't want to put a lot of undue stress on our spine. So we're going to lower into goddess pose. You should feel your leg muscles firing up immediately. Do a sole check and lift your toes. Make sure that your feet, just the soles, are in contact with your mat so that we don't lose our balance. And then you can lower them if you like. But we're going to place our arms and our hands in prayer position. We're going to lift our right heel and lower, then our left heel and lower, then lift both heels at the same time. Focus on something out in front of you, so that way you can maintain your balance. Keep your navel sucked to your spine. We're recruiting a lot of muscles to hold this pose, and lower. There becomes a point where we really shouldn't try to hold it much longer than we are. And that was it. Then we're going to sweep our arms down and out to star pose. So this is another symbol of strength. Just saying, just give it to me, world. Whatever you've got to toss my way, I'm ready. And just actively reach out with your hands, dig into the outside of your feet without allowing your soles to come off the mat, and lift your kneecaps in order to be able to activate your muscles, the quads and the hamstrings. Then we're going to lower our hands in prayer position and scoop our feet together. And we're going to go into that arm cross pose that I covered in a Yoga Anywhere. So what we want to do, I'm here sideways. You don't have to be sideways, but we're going to take first our right hand and we're going to grab just below the left elbow. So it'll look like this, or above if you can reach. Sometimes if we reach above the elbow, it makes it very hard to reach with the other hand. But I'm going to grab above. You have choice. I don't think I mentioned that in Yoga Anywhere. Then we're going to take our left hand and we're going to grab just below. And while we're holding these two parts with our hands, we're going to really reach down and out with our elbows. Lift the kneecaps just like we just did in our star pose. And take a deep breath in and out. This is great for self-esteem. Great to help build strength from the inside out. Suck your navel to your spine as you're breathing. In and out. In and out. Now we're going to let that go. You should just feel like this whole area in your shoulders just feel relieved of any stress. And now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to grab the top of the right elbow with the left hand and just below the elbow with the right hand. So we're still keeping this firm stance. We're still keeping our kneecaps lifted. We're going to suck our navel to our spine and reach down and out with our arms. We'll feel really good stretch in your shoulders and your upper back. Breathe in and out. And I'm so glad that I'm able to incorporate this in one of the longer practices and not just in Yoga Anywhere. Breathe in and out. And release. And your arms might feel a little bit like noodles, so just go with it and wave them a little bit. It's really wonderful to be able to work our muscles and yet stretch out our joints at the same time. Now we're going to go into a high lunge, and doing that from a standing position can be a little tricky. So what we're going to do first is go into Warrior Two, just like we did a moment ago. So step out with that left foot and back with the right, and we want the right foot facing or pointing at the opposite corner of the room. We're actually going to go ahead and lower into the bend for our Warrior Two. But this time we're going to lift our arms up over our head, and we're going to shift that back foot so that our heel comes up off the floor. And voila, we are now in a high lunge. We're going to take a deep breath in as we look up at the sky. And breathe out. We're going to try to hold this a bit longer. Breathe in and out. Now we're going to straighten that front leg as we breathe in and lower as we breathe out. Breathe in and straighten and breathe out and lower. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Now we're going to shift back to the footing for our Warrior Two. But this time we're going to straighten that front leg and turn it in while we turn the right foot out and readjust. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. So while we lower into that front leg and lift our hands up and overhead, we're going to shift so that that back foot comes up off the mat. So we just have our toes on the mat with our heels reaching towards the back. And what we're going to do is breathe in, looking up at the sky, and breathe out. Really squeeze your thighs to the center line to help you maintain balance. Breathe in and out. Now we're going to straighten that front leg as we breathe in and lower it as we breathe out. I had a really narrow stance. I had to move my right foot out. Feel free to do that. Now breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Squeeze those thighs to the center line. Breathe in and out. Now we're going to straighten that leg. And now we're back in our wide-legged position from star pose. But this time we're going to have our feet in line with one another. So have both feet, have your toes pointing out. We're going to go into wide-legged forward fold. And we're not going to do anything spectacular. We're really just going to place our hands on our waist, and we're going to hinge at our hips so that our back remains straight as long as it possibly can. And then as you lower, you will find a small bend to your back, and that's perfectly fine because we're going to recruit our abdominal muscles to move up and out of this position. But first, place your left hand in the center in between your 2 feet, in line with the arches of your feet. And you want to be digging into the outside of your feet. And we're going to lift just like we did with the forward fold. We're going to be pulling back a bow with our right hand and lifting that right hand up to the sky for another twist. Then lower, right hand in the center of the mat, left arm pulls back the bow up and overhead for another twist. Now we're going to recruit the muscles of our abdominal wall. So suck your navel to your spine and from center, lift back up to that wide-legged stance. Now we're going to heel, toe, back to center. And we're going to go into a little dancer practice. I mentioned this last week. Now, if you have furniture close by, I encourage you to try using a piece of furniture if you feel like you can't maintain your balance. But what we want to do first is have both of our feet slightly apart, a little bit less than hip width apart. You want to find something out in front of you that you can focus on. And we're going to go into that quad stretch first. So we're going to put all of our weight on our right foot to start. Lift that left leg and grab your ankle. Now try to keep your knee in line with your other leg. So you don't want it to go out off to the side. Then we're going to switch our hand to the arch. Then when you feel like you can lean over, you want a real bounce, you want buoyancy in your knee. I can't talk and maintain my balance. We're going to lean into our dancer. Now push out with that foot and pull back with the hand. And that's something I definitely cannot say when I'm holding dancer. Now you can go right back to immediately grabbing your inner arch. If you've fallen out of it like I did, just smile. We're finding strength. And then lean into reaching out with your right hand, pushing out with your left foot, and pulling in with your left hand. And release. There's a huge sense of accomplishment when you're actually able to hold that for a few seconds. I do not expect anybody to hold it for longer. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I have to reorient myself, find something to focus on. You can just keep focusing on the same thing that you are. So again, we're going to go straight into that quad stretch. We're not going to play with the foot coming up off the mat first. Just going to grab that ankle. And again, I might move closer to my TV. Here we go. Now switch to where your hand is at the arch of your foot. And when you're ready, remember, keep a nice loose knee and lean into the pose. This takes a lot of strength and a lot of focus. If you lose it, just grab your foot and come right back in again. That time I got a little bit of a cramp. Dancer pose. Now, for those that feel like they can't do that if their wrist is really that weak, you can just go into Warrior 3. And the way you would do that, instead of grabbing your foot, is by lifting that back leg as far as you can. And you want to try to keep your back as one long line from your head to your tailbone. You want it as one long line and reaching forward with your hands. So it's basically the same balance technique. It's just that you're not holding your foot in your hand. And you can switch to the other side without turning. And you can lift both your hands and your leg at the same time. So that would be an alternative. But now we're going to go back to, or we haven't been at the mat at all. We're going to go down to the mat. And we're going to do a few twists and we'll be done with this practice. So place your hands together, interlace your fingers, have a steeple grip, point those toes, and lower to your back. Now grab your knees immediately and hug them to your chest. So much time. And I think the camera is still on. Yay! But I know how to set it up. I just will now know not to leave it up for 40 minutes before the practice starts. And please leave a comment if you think this is better than the other camera. If you feel that it's still an issue, then I will try to hunt for a camera that my computer has the specs to handle while I'm live streaming. It's a real technical thing I have to do. I never thought I'd be in broadcasting, but here we are. Now we're just going to point and flex our toes. Point and flex. Point and flex. And then switch. Point and flex. Point, flex. Now we're going to switch one more time. And this time we're going to lift our nose to our knee and lower that left foot. And bring that left foot back up. Release. Grab the left foot or left knee. Bring your nose up towards that and lower the right leg. And bring it back up. Now this time we're not going to lower in between. Just keep your nose reaching towards that knee, getting into the abdominal wall. Do a couple more on each side. You can have your foot flex like I do, or you can point your toes. It really doesn't matter. It's the action and maintaining our lower back on the mat that's going to allow us to strengthen our abdominal wall. One more time, lower and lower. And now we're going to end this practice in Shavasana. Please comment. Truly, I need your feedback. I need your input. If this camera is not a good solution, please, please, please let me know. Because I do want to bring you quality yoga practices. I don't want you to think that my lack of technical ability is impossible to overcome. I do hope I can overcome it, but if my computer requires more RAM, that's just a non-starter at this point. But that is the end of this practice. I do hope that you focus on strength as you go through your week, and that if you have any challenges, that that you're able to overcome them. So I will check real quick. I have my computer turned around so that it didn't reflect off my TV. So I'm going to see if there's any comments. And there's no comments, but I do hope you enjoyed this practice and that you'll come back again next week. And I think the lighting might be fine now. If it isn't, again, comment. But I'll see you again next time. Bye.